Welcome to Lockdown Mathematics. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Today we're going to be dealing with algebra. Okay, so many students tend to have problems in these sections, but it's actually a fairly simple section once you look at it in depth. Right, so I'm going to go through some tips on how we can do better at this thing and how you can actually start enjoying it. Okay, so the first thing we'll deal with is solving for x in algebra. The first technique we're going to look at is just basically where we have two factors already factorized for us and it's equal to 0 in your question paper. Whenever you see a question like this, what you should do is equate each bracket and solve for both roots of x. Okay? Note that a and b can be any number, right? Well, any integer, any whole integer. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to equate x minus a to 0 and therefore x will equal a. Similarly, x plus b is equal to 0 and hence x must equal to minus b. Okay, moving on. The next question you might see in your exam is a question that involves you to use the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula has to have the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Note that a, b, and c are constants. Okay, whenever you see this statement, use if and only if require our answer to be two decimal places will you use the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula basically helps us to solve for x. And so here is the quadratic equation. Okay. Alright, and so you can double check this by plugging it into your calculator. If they ask you to write it in third form, you'll leave it in terms of a root. But if they ask you for two decimal places, you'll write it in terms of a decimal. Okay, the next problem, sometimes you usually see a square root attached on one side of your equation. So what we do is when we're dealing with these type of problems is we square both sides of our equations. Now, over here, when you square this, you'll notice that the square root will fall away. Okay, so there's an error here. There's supposed to be a square root here. And there's supposed to be a square root here. Okay, and so what happens is the square roots fall away and you can FOIL out these two brackets here and solve for x using the quadratic formula or by factorizing and equating to 0. Okay, so here we go. Here, the next thing we're dealing with is the simultaneous equations. Now, most students tend to mess this up because they rush through it, and through practice you can do well in this section. So usually you're given two equations with two different variables. These variables can be x or y or x1 or x2, can be any alphanumeric or any alphabet that can be a placeholder for a number. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to let x or y be the subject of the formula, right? And then you could ask me which equation do I make subject of the formula. So that's simple, just select the easier one. Okay, so take the easier equation, make it subject of formula, substitute it into the second equation, and you'll get a new equation, right? Where you will have everything in terms of one variable. So because everything's in one variable, we can then solve that equation. Okay, and lastly, we're going to deal with inequalities. So in inequalities, we've got two cases, case 1 and case 2. And suppose we got in case 1 the form ax squared minus bx minus c greater than 0. So we got greater than 0. Now say we have this form. The next step you do is you try to factorize it. So when you factorize it, say we got x minus d and x plus e, you can solve for the roots. Now the first root here is x minus d equal to 0, therefore x will give me positive d, like such. And the second root will be x plus e gives me 0, and therefore the other root is x is equals to minus e. Because this inequality is greater than 0, it's positive, and therefore the arms or these arrows of our inequalities are on the outside. Right? When we draw a parabola, it's important to draw a parabola so you know whether it's inside or outside, or if you're good enough at this section, you can do it by inspection by looking at the question. Okay, so therefore our answer would have two answers because we got two arrows pointing outwards. Okay, in case 2, we got the same form, but this case we got less than equal to 0. Whenever you have an equal to sign, your root will be colored in, the dot will be colored in. Notice in case 1, the root was not colored in, it's just a dot with no coloring in. Okay, so here you got x minus d, x plus e. We notice it's negative. Because it's negative, we have one answer in the middle of our parabola. And so we have x, and either side you can just plug in the two roots, minus e and d, and you'll put a less than sign on both sides of x with an underscore for below that. Okay, so I trust this video was helpful. I hope that it will help you tackle problems more easier and open up your understanding. And in the near future, I'll be posting more videos, but with examination type problems. And I thank all my viewers that are watching now, and I hope to deliver better content and more examples for you all to work with during this lockdown period. And I pray for your safety, that you stay safe, stay home, and work hard, and together we can make this year a success, and you can do it, guys. Cool. Until we meet in our next lesson, thanks, drop a like and subscribe.